Okay everyone, we finally made it home to Tennessee, to our home base, and we've got the new motorhome, which is a Thor 34J Windsport, put in the shop. We got a lot of work to do to her. Some of we got to do first is fix something. We had a kind of a major problem. We worked around it so we could get home, but now we got to fix it. Basically, we took it for our first ride and we smelled something hot, like electrical hot. Wasn't sure where it was coming from. We had the outside air on. We didn't have air conditioning on. It didn't see any smoke, so nothing smoke checked. So we thought maybe it was the car in front of us because we were at a stoplight when it happened. But come to find out later what it was, we think, and that's what we're going to find out in this video, is we think it was the battery bypass switch, which allows you, when you start the vehicle, it allows the alternator to charge not only the chassis battery, but the house batteries. Let me explain a little bit in depth of what was going on. As we're driving down the road, and this is normal, the alternator charges the chassis battery and the house batteries. When you shut off the engine, it should disconnect. There's a solenoid there. It should disconnect the chassis batteries or chassis battery from the house battery. That way there's no backflow. And that's what we were getting. What we were getting is a backflow. It didn't disconnect because I think that solenoid's bad. So it was letting the house battery suck the power out of the chassis battery, which I think now we're probably going to have to replace. That battery's probably shot also. But anyway, that's what's going on. Now, if we stopped and we started the generator or plugged into shore power, as soon as the inverter would click over to shore power, we could turn the motor off and it would not drain the motor. It would actually, or the chassis, it would not drain the chassis battery. It would actually be charging it again. So that way it would start back up. If we pulled into a gas station or a rest stop and turned the motor off, within 5 minutes, the battery for the chassis would be absolutely flat dead, no lights on the dash at all, and I could barely get the generator started. Once the generator got started, it would charge that battery, and then I could go ahead and start the vehicle. So that was not good, and that's basically what was happening. It's stuck in the charge mode. It's connecting those two batteries in the back to the battery in the front, which is the chassis battery. So when you shut off, it basically just starts draining the chassis battery because it's the smallest battery of the three. So that's where we are, and next we got to take the engine cover off. So let's get at it. Okay, it's a little dark down there, but you might be able to see the battery. Now in the schematics, which we'll kind of draw up or show you a picture of that a little bit later, or while we're talking here, the battery should have three connections on the hot side. One should go to the starter, one should go to the alternator to charge it, and one should go to this bypass switch wherever it is. So what we're going to do this morning is try and find this bypass switch. It looks like here's a 100 amp breaker down here. So that's more than likely where it's going to go to the back. This comes from the battery, the hot side. This goes up, ends up, you can see it up here, ends it up here going into the firewall. So what we're going to do next, we're going to take the cover off the engine inside and see if we can find that. It's up, should be up underneath the dash someplace. There's a couple electrical boxes right there. Not sure if they're involved in that, although the cable does not go there, it goes up inside. So we're going to check that out, so we'll get back with you. Okay, as you can see, this is the engine cover, and we've got 4 bolts, 2 on each side, to take it off. And what we're going to have to do is make sure we move the seats back all the way, both of them, and then we'll get this off and see if we can, we may have to take that radio cover off or something, but we're going to have to get up underneath that dash somehow and find out where that switch is. So Here we go. Okay, we've got the engine compartment open. So now we need to get a flashlight and get down in there and see if we look up underneath the dash. If not, we may have to take that radio cover off. So this is the house batteries. They're two 6-volt batteries, and we think I need to get some light on the subject, but now we got a little more light on the subject there. This is the battery compartment for the chassis batteries, and we think the problem is that solenoid down in there or its associated wiring. So we're going to take these batteries out today and kind of check that solenoid and the wiring and see where we go from there. So we'll get back to you. Okay, we're going to try and put some light on the subject here. This is where the house batteries are on the passenger side, in back of the door. This is where it said there were a lot of things, but we weren't sure how it was all hooked up. This part right here, this what they call the bird, that connection right there, that's what controls all of the action on as far as what batteries are connected to what batteries and when they are and when they're not. That was in back of the battery bank on the floor. Couldn't see it. So when we took the batteries out to check everything, we went ahead and moved it up to the firewall where it's easy to get to. Also back in there, if you can see it, that's the relay that the bird controls. We didn't move that because the wires were too short. We didn't want to mess with it too much. But basically what we did in here, in the battery compartment, was we took the batteries out, we cleaned everything up, we moved the bird over, we checked everything. Everything was working as it's supposed to work. And so we cleaned things up, put the batteries back in, and made some little wood pieces to screw into the floor, so those batteries are not going to go anywhere. They're strapped down. Everything's hooked up. Didn't find anything wrong in the house battery compartments, and this is working as it should. The bird and everything is working exactly as it should. Now comes what the real thing was. Okay. Have you ever had a problem, whether it be mechanical or electrical, and think right off the bat you know exactly what it is and that's what you have to do to fix it? You go look at it, but you start thinking about it on the way to fixing it, and you let your brain get in the way of your gut, and you know exactly what's wrong with it, but you pass over it and think it's something more complicated. You overthink it. Happens all the time. That's what happened to us. When this problem showed up at rest stops, the battery was dying. We had to start the generator to keep everything going so we could start or leave the motor running. We pulled into a Walmart, and my first thought was, I'll bet you the chassis battery is bad. So I went into Walmart and talked to a couple guys there, and they said, well, it would take an hour and a half to pull the battery out and test it and all this stuff. And I said, well, I really think it's the battery. Just put one in it. And we sized it and looked at it, and they had the one we needed. But they're still talking. They were talking a couple hours to get around to it, and we were on the road. So I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, it's working. We'll just keep driving. And of course, while I'm driving, I'm thinking, well, it could be this, could be that. So we ended up getting home and still couldn't find what was wrong with it. The battery was still dying. I got a hold of Thor, talked to a really nice guy on the phone. He sent me a little bit of electrical schematic like of where things were, but he actually didn't know where the bird was. He said they put them all different places. We checked underneath the bed at the load center. We looked in around the chassis battery. We checked things and looked around. We looked in the house battery section. It was a mess back there, so we took everything out, cleaned it up, and found the bird in there, and they didn't think it was going to be in there. Remounted it up on a wall, made a cleaner installation. After doing all that and not finding anything wrong, it was the chassis battery. What we had smelled originally getting hot was the battery getting hot for a second as the plates fused together. So basically the battery was shorted out internally. Ray and I went to town, got a real good tester, came out here, tested, bang, it was dead. It was just no good at all. Went and got a new battery for it, stuck it in, everything works as advertised. The bird takes over and switches it back and forth like it should, so that it disconnects the batteries or connects it, whatever it is. So a battery, $100 battery, was the fix. I should have got it done at Walmart and we wouldn't have had these problems. But one thing, we learned a lot. We know where all the components on the electrical system are now. And so if you ever have, if you have a Thor, a wind sport, send me an email if you want, if you're looking for a certain component, and I can tell you about where it might be. And the reason is every time they build one, they put stuff in a different, okay, famous GoPro quit, and we don't know why, but anyway, here. Anyway, we're going to look at what Thor sent us as far as electronic schematics and stuff. Wasn't easy to read. It really doesn't tell you where anything is. It just tells you what hooks up to what. So we'll take a look at those. Okay, I've put up some slides of the what they called schematics that they sent to me from Thor's warranty department. They're not really schematics, but they're just wiring diagrams that show the cables, where the cables go, and will give you kind of an idea of where the components are that are attached to those cables. They did help. It wasn't the best in the world, but hey, I got them for free. They sent them to me. All you have to do is go to the warranty department online and request them, and they'll send them to you. If you have problems getting through to them and getting them to send them to you, I don't mind sending them. So give me an email at DownTheRoadWeGo1@gmail.com, and we'll gladly send you these files along with a couple others that we have. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps. As down the road we go to a better fix and a better RV, and we'll see you in upcoming videos. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for watching Down the Road We Go. If you're new to our channel, or you just want to make sure you see all our videos, make sure you click the little subscribe button on our logo, and make sure also you ring the little bell, and that way YouTube will notify you whenever we put up a new video. So thanks for coming along for the ride as Down the Road We Go.